Hello, everyone. I see a couple more people are just getting on. I think we should just wait 1 or 2 more minutes. I don't think everyone is here yet.
Janelle, I'm going to pause the recording then.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tabby Bellhorn. I am the Director for Ohio Hands and Voices. Thank you for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn. Janelle is going to present to you today, and you should be able to see her screen at this point. Just a couple housekeeping things. I wanted to let you know that we will be recording this webinar so we can post on our YouTube channel later. During the presentation, I will be muting everybody just to reduce the background noise and make sure that our recording comes out clear. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, you should see a little chat icon. If you just click on that and you submit your question through there, at the end of Janelle's presentation, we will review questions and we will review questions at the end. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. And Janelle?
Yes, take it. Can you hear me still?
Janelle, give me 1 second. 1 second, I'm going to mute everybody and then unmute you.
Okay. All right, I think we're ready. Can you hear me, Tabby?
Yes.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our Lunch and Learn. My name is Janelle Frost, and I am the Executive Director for Michigan Hands and Voices. And today we are going to talk about Hurdle Talk. This is something that I am very familiar with. I've been dealing with Hurdle Talk for several years, so I'm excited to be able to share with you some tips of how to better assist our child or student in the classroom. So let's get started. I myself am a parent of 4 children, and one being deaf. And so I've been in the classroom for many years. He's 16 now, and I've participated with many IEPs with him. And I've also been participating as an advocate for several families. And this picture right here that you see in front of us does represent, I think, myself and maybe some of you, along that IEP process where you have this straight road that you would love to follow, but instead you see all these turns and twists and everyone's, we're kind of like getting off the road. That's kind of what we're going to be discussing today, all those issues that come up that kind of derail us and get us stuck off of that track of going forward. So what is Hurdle Talk? Well, it's really figuring out a way to deal with the hurdles instead of getting stuck on the indirect or derailed or dismissive answer. So I don't know about you, but I have felt many times that I've been in a meeting and my questions just were not getting answered thoroughly, and I couldn't figure out why, or I felt like I wasn't being listened to, or I was confused at what the school was saying, but I read that a law or a policy said one thing. So we're going to kind of go through that today and how to help deal with any hurdle that comes our way. Now, I do want to advise everyone here that not only do professionals have, their Hurdle Talk that they're going to send to us, but parents we can have our own. And I can tell you, I have definitely sent some unclear messages at different times and dodged the issue. But for today's purposes, we are going to be talking specifically about the school district, what hurdles that they give to us. And all of a sudden I'm echoing quite a bit. Tabby, am I echoing on your end?
No, you're okay.
Okay,
I got it taken care of for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so today we're gonna go over how to do that and how to, not not dodge the issue, but know what to say when a certain topic comes up, and we can have a clear message of what to say, and really what ruling through IDEA helps us in defining, what is the right rule for this specific hurdle. All right, so I think Hands and Voices has done a fabulous job of providing help with specific hurdles that you may run into. And on their website, handsandvoices.org, they have a specific document called the Pop-Up IEP that I took some of the hurdles that we're going to discuss today from this, and that you can go afterwards and you can look up your own, if there's a specific one that you're having with, and you can click on them and get more information. So for today's purposes, we're going to go over a couple of these. I'm not going to go over all of them because we only have 30 minutes here. So I'm going to show you in the end where to find these and what you can do. So I just wanted to give you a quick heads up that there's 8 here. On this page, there's actually 16 in total, and we're going to just discuss a couple of them today. All right, so our first hurdle. I don't know about you, but you may have heard or even felt this, that money was an issue. So the hurdle is we don't have the money to do that. Whether they specifically said that, the school district said that, or it was implied, but I think throughout my career I have definitely felt this to be a hurdle in my own advocacy with my child, and thinking, should I ask for that? I know that they're having issues with the budget, and then also professionals just saying, yeah, we can't do that. That's, we don't have the money. So that is a hurdle that we're going to discuss right now. All right, so here are some ways that you can respond to if they come to you with, we don't have the money. One is, I can appreciate the dilemma that you face in these times of budget constraints, but we are here now to focus on the needs of Johnny or Susie. Another one is, let's do our best to come up with innovative ways to meet the needs of your child. The second one in particular, I know I have done quite often when thinking about a service that my child needs, and I know that the school is struggling, we'll try to come up with innovative ways to give them ideas. But what's really important about all of this is that there are rules and laws in place to help us, that we're not responsible for this as parents. In the law, which I have it listed down at the very bottom in red, and you'll see that throughout my slides, you can look these up. I put them on here. Whoops. All right. I put them on for your sake so that if you are one of those individuals that like to look up the specific rule, you can get on IDEA and look it up. And what it says is that, FAPE, we are provided, all of the students that are eligible for special ed are provided a free and appropriate public education. We must provide as listed on the IEP, and that is without charge. So no matter whether you're feeling bad about them having these constraints, it really ends up to be an administrative issue, and that the administrative has to they have to figure out ways of dealing with this. And when you're in that IEP meeting is not a time to talk about money. And these laws keep that safeguard there for us parents to say, I appreciate that you have these dilemmas, but right now we're here to meet the needs of so-and-so. We aren't here to balance the budget. That's not what this meeting is about. And that can be a sensitive topic, but it really comes down to that, you have to stay focused on the identified need of your student and stay away from costs, and then stay focused on the how, but remain firm that the required service be provided. So we're really going to keep us on that straight road instead of get derailed by a money issue, because at that time of the IEP meeting, no talk about money should come up, and there are those rules down at the bottom of the slide that you can look up that specify that. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. Hurdle we do not need to write it down. I've definitely heard this one before. I've done this before myself. Early in the process, as a parent, I would go into a meeting and I would spend all this energy and time with my notes, and I would, be asking requests, saying these different things, but not asking that they be written into the actual document, either the 504 or the IEP. And that's been a problem with along my journey, that I've learned that it's really important. Write these things down, not only for the parents, but also for the professionals. As a parent, you want to believe that things will change when having a conversation, maybe in and out of a meeting, but unless it's written down, it's not going to happen. Now, professionals might say we don't need to write it down because they may be afraid to commit to a service or goal that they may not be able to meet, or if they feel like they can't meet. And they might, but one of the most common ones is that they believe that the service is something that they're already providing, and that we don't need to write it down because we're just automatically doing that. But what happens then is that it doesn't get written, and you have no legal authority to do anything about it if it's not written down. So we're going to respond with, we have to document everything. And here's a couple quotes that you can say to help when that topic does come up. So the first one is, if we feel as a team that the service or goal needs to be included, let's just go ahead and write it in. That way we all have a plan to follow. The next quote is one that I do with a lot of families and myself, because I think it's really true to the reason why we're doing this, is that what if we move, or a different service provider comes in, and we need to have the next IEP team or those service providers know how to implement the service needed. So it's really important that we write it down. Now, we do have, of course, another rule that says this is important, and when we are voicing our concerns, we want to make sure that our parent input is put into the IEP, and that is usually put in the very beginning of an IEP through the parent concern section. I do request for most of my families to have a parent report, and that's where all that information would go in. But what if there's a service that you're recommending in the report or in your concerns that when going through the IEP, the school says, no, we don't believe that's needed, they disagree with you? Well, IDEA, and here's the ruling here, written in the red, says that for every specific issue you have that comes up that the school didn't want, that felt wasn't necessarily, whatever it is, you can ask for prior written notice. And what that means is that the school has to provide a description of the action refused. They have to explain it in detail, and they must have data to back it up. And they need to have a description of the options considered and rejected, and description of other factors as well. Now, I did download the actual document that you can just go through Google and write prior written notice form. I take this form with me. I like to be reminded of this so that at the end of the IEP, if there are certain things, I'm already jotting them down throughout the IEP, so that when we get to the very end, because this is one of the last things that you do, is you fill this prior written notice form in, and you can remind the team that, we didn't agree upon this, and I'm still requesting that we do this with our child, and that's when they go through that form and they fill it out. I do believe that within each state it does vary which forms they may use. I know that in Michigan we are going to having one online form, and there's not all of this information that you can list them in there separately. It's all kind of together in one box. So just making sure when that prior written notice does get done that you have a list of things that you remember that they need to provide, because the school has to back up what they are disagreeing with. It can't, and this helps them to remember that that's the rules, that they have to have some data to prove why they didn't feel that you should have this service or why this placement was accepted over the other. They can't just say this is what we're going to do. They must write it in the prior written notice if it's not of what you believe to be appropriate for your child. All right, so the next hurdle, we're the professionals. This picture here of this person screaming, I think my idea is the best, me, me, me. This person could be the parent too, not just the professional saying this. You know, this is, the hurdle is when we as a team are not feeling validated in our part of being on the team. So we're going to discuss that and how to deal with that a little bit more. But really what the team member is saying is we know best, and there's a lack of respect or trust, and both parties become not happy with the others. So one response to this could be, we are here for Johnny. Let's all do our best to focus on his or her needs and keep our minds open to respect everyone's views. Now, as a parent, I can say that I don't think, or I hope I didn't look like this person screaming on the screen over here. But I do remember going into several IEPs of my child, being that it's very personal to me, and feeling that you know, that the professionals weren't listening to me, and sometimes it was me not listening to them as well, that you know, I didn't have an open mind, and I needed to really remember that I'm a part of the team and to respect when a professional is given information to me and to really listen to that information, because you know, if we want respect from the professionals, we have to give that as well. So but us parents have a big part in the IEP process. The professionals are with our children for a portion of the day, and yes, they are experienced and trained in their specific education, but we are with that child their whole lifetime, you know, so we do have a lot to offer and bring to the team, and we need, you know, we need to be respected as well. And so here's another response we could say is, you know, we all have something to bring to the table, or we can appreciate the fact that you have many years of experience and training, but as Susie's parents, we want to make sure that this team has taken into consideration our perspectives as a parent. So here is the ruling on the participation of the parent in the IEP team, and I like this picture at the bottom because really the team is made up of all these different individuals, and we have to learn to respect one another. And one of the advocates that works for us in Michigan, she uses this phrase quite often with her parents, and I think it's a great one to remember, and it is listen to learn. You know, we may be coming into an IEP with a lot of emotions and things that we want to get across, but when we really sit down at that table, it is a time to make sure that we are open and listen, and we're ready to listen to learn to anyone that has a part in our child's life. All right, our next hurdle. We'll observe your child with observational methods only. So I've heard this one before. And observations are one way of getting information from our child, but it's only one way. And what happens is if it's observational and nothing can be, that you can't test for it any other way, that's a problem. We need to be able to be able to have clear written goals and ways to observe how the child is functioning and how the child is doing educationally in the classroom. And so the school has to find ways of measuring besides just observational. We've also heard that school programs will automatically cover that. We don't need to, we don't need to make a goal for that, or we have difficulty finding a way to measure the goal that is requested. Those things are obstacles. Those are hurdles that do get in the way of us not being able to make clear-cut goals. I like the picture up on the right-hand corner of this target, and all these arrows are going all over the place because we haven't made really good goals and we don't have ways of measuring it. One teacher's view or one service provider's view of a child may be different than another, and the same with us parents. So it's really important that we have really good assessments to be able to evaluate our children. So what is the response to that? And IDEA is clear about this in saying that we must have SMART goals. We are looking for a guide for our children so that our service providers will know, what to do. And so we're going to talk a little bit about SMART goals, and those will help so that we get off that hurdle of just observing the child, or not having anything to measure, or for us parents to go in and say, yes, this, my child isn't doing well in math. Well, why? There's something written that his goal is this, and we've tested, and he's here. So we're going to go over what that means. So SMART goals, they need to be specific. What, why, and how is the goal. It's going to be measurable. So we have to make sure that that goal can be measurable. We can't pick goals. If you can't measure it, then you really have no reason to have that goal in there. It's got to have some way of measuring besides just observational. Unless that is the only way, that we can make an exception for that. Now the goal has to be achievable. We have to be real, with the team as well. I know myself, my son, I have given some goals out there to the team that they really fought me on that it wasn't achievable. And so we would put time frames on that and to say if he's not improving by, or halfway there at this point, then we can, let's look at amending that goal. But you want it to be achievable, that they can actually reach that, and you're being fair with the team and fair to the child. Also that they're physically able to meet that goal. It must be result focused, and it must be time bound. So we're going to make sure that there is a specific written time frame for these goals. By the end of the next IEP 2018, Johnny will have learned 20 new ASL signs receptively and expressively, and we're going to measure that by this test or this assessment. So those have to be very specific, and again, the rules are down at the bottom of the screen here listed. All right, our next hurdle is, sorry, the gen ed teacher couldn't be here today. We can still proceed with the meeting. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately for us as parents, the ruling on this is that the gen ed teacher are members of the IEP team and must participate in the IEP process. So they must, and there's that rule listed there. There's a lot of reasons for this. One in particular is that if your child is in special ed and your goal is to keep them on 1 year growth in 1 year time and keep them on track, then we need someone from the general education department that knows what that means. So there are exceptions. Sometimes a teacher just cannot, the school was unable to get a substitute, or you're having a lot of issues with staffing. That does happen, and they may ask you if it's okay that the gen ed teacher isn't there. That is the choice of the parent. If you want to choose for them to go on along with the meeting, that you do have that right, but you also have the right to say no. No, I feel it's that we cannot go on without the general education teacher here today. And I know this is a really good response I have here. says, so I noticed there's no general education teacher here today, so I assume we will consider this meeting a pre-planning session for our real IEP when the gen ed teacher can be here. I have used this myself because you don't want to waste people's time of coming together, and maybe there's some work you can do without them, but I specifically say, you know, I'm not going to continue as the IEP meeting because I do know that it's important for the general education teacher to be in the room. So my final thought, thinking about, you know, hurdles and how to help us keep track, is to really keep focus on the child and the purpose of special education. You know, in our heads, if we as parents and even professionals think about the goal of special ed is really to meet, and an IEP is to meet that child's unique needs and to prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. That's a big, broad statement. So, you know, it's really, we need to think about that, and that will help us keep these little hurdles at bay and not get stuck on them, because I know it can get a little emotional, especially, you know, being the parent and you're very invested and you might hear one of these hurdles and you might get offended. But you got to keep this in mind that, you know, we're really, you know, you're there for that child, and really the professionals should be there as well and to do these certain things. So I wanted to, because what we want to do is we want to avoid, you know, all these turns and twists and have one nice road looking nice and straight ahead. Now, before I go, I really want you to know where to find that pop-up IEP to avoid the hurdle talk. So here's Hands and Voices website. I'm just going to click on here and show you. This is the Hands and Voices website. In order to find that pop-up one, you're going to go onto Services and click down onto ASTRA, the Advocacy Support and Training. And then we're going to go down to IEP or pop-up IEP. I want to show you how this works. So again, I said there was 16 of them. I'm going to click on one of them so you can see. So, sorry, we don't have the money. Now, what I went through with you was, you know, just basic, a little bit of what they said there, some of these quotes and notes, and then the law. So each one of these hurdles has, you can go back and you can click on that. So when you're going through, you know, you're thinking about the meeting and some of the, you know, something about what you heard last time and you're thinking this might come up, you can take a look at it and have some little ideas of what to say, and more importantly, the law, what the law says, and look that up and read that. So we're going to go through one more. I'll show you. Let's get back to you on how that might work. So here's the problem, the response, and then here's the section of law that goes in detail of what the law does say. So I really wanted you to be able to see how to get to that, because you know, I knew I couldn't cover all of the hurdles today. I've definitely heard a lot of them myself, and I just wanted you to know where to go. All right, do we have any questions?
Janelle, it's Tabby. We do not have any questions through the chat box, but I will open it up. That if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to ask.
Well, we made it at the exactly 30 minutes here, Tabby.
I know. Great job.
And there's a lot of information here. I feel so bad that I couldn't go through more of these hurdles, but I hope that those that are on the call today, that you're able to, you know, go to that pop-up IEP and use it and practice it. I do have an advocate before every meeting. That's her go-to, that she goes through those and just, you know, help her with a quick reminder of what to say if something does come up.
Great. Janelle, thank you for all the information today and the resources. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.